30 seconds and counting.
Hello and welcome to the High Altitude Adventures podcast. This is episode 5, Commercial Suborbital Space Flights. My name is Mikhail, and my guest today is Ron Rosano, who will soon fly to space twice. Hi Ron, thank you for joining us today.
Hi Mikhail, thanks for having me. Excited to talk about commercial spaceflight with you.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Ron, I know that one of your projects is a summary of suborbital flights. You have a website which is called suborbitalflightjournal.com, which is very interesting. And for me, you're one of the most knowledgeable people about suborbital flights. Let's first talk about this in general. What is that? What's a suborbital flight?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you're enjoying the site. So a suborbital flight is different from going to orbit in that you're only going far enough off the surface of the planet to be in space for a short period of time and then back down, and not doing a full orbit of Earth. So it's much actually. You have a beautiful view. You're in the vacuum of space there, but it takes much less energy to get into space on a suborbital flight. You're only traveling about 4,000 kilometers per hour compared to having to accelerate yourself up to 28,000 miles an hour or 20,000 kilometers per hour to reach orbit.
So it's basically a very high hop. You go very, very high,
Yep.
and then you come down.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
on your website, you list all these historic flights. And remind me, when did we humans had the first suborbital flight? Was it Alan Shepard, or there were some
Yes.
flights before?
Yeah, Alan Shepard in 1961 was the first human to go on a strictly suborbital flight. That was the beginning of the U.S. space program. I've been interested in space history all my life, really. And as we're reaching this new era of commercial space flights, commercial suborbital flights, I thought it'd be great to have one location that summarizes all those flights. And that's why I started the Suborbital Flight Journal. And that lists all the suborbital flights humans have been on since 1961, when Alan Shepard had his first flight.
And that's a good segue to the current status, current situation. Now we have several companies who offer this service commercially. What are they?
So there's two companies now operating commercial suborbital flights. Virgin Galactic, you may have seen them in the headlines recently. They just flew their first private passengers last week. And also Blue Origin, who's had, I think, about 6 flights so in total, between the two of those, there's been 50 commercial suborbital astronauts since Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin started their flights in 2018 was the first Virgin Galactic space flight.
And if we look forward 3-5 years, we have several projects which are hatching, which are possible, like Starship may have a suborbital hops and some more, right?
Yeah, SpaceX is testing Starship, and they expect to have their second test flights within the next month or two, it looks like. I haven't seen them mention suborbital specifically, but it certainly would fit in the capabilities of what Starship is doing. And that really could provide access to, instead of, 3 or 4, 5, 6 people at a time, maybe even up to 100 on a single flight.
And there are also several companies which probably a bit early in their development stage, several in Europe, several in North America, who are talking about possible suborbital trips, but they are a bit early in the stage. And I know there is a Chinese company which is copying Blue Origin model again. Let's see what happens there. But today there are 2 current active ones, Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic. Now, spilling the beans. So you have both of them booked. You may go, or you will go on both of them, Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic.
Yeah.
I'm really envious, jealous, absolutely. Fair play. All the best to you in this flight.
Thanks.
Now, let's say, speaking about those flights, since you're preparing yourself to fly on both, and you know pretty well, I assume, the whole sequence of events which will happen. And also you track, same as me, we watch all these flights every time. So let's talk about the sequence of events happening on the day of the flight. So hypothetical Blue Origin flight, hypothetical Virgin Galactic flight. What people who will book or who already booked can expect on the day of the flight? What will be happening?
So that's I think for both carriers, both providers, it's a very early wake up. They will both fly early in the morning. That's when the air is calmest, best conditions for flying. And it's I can only guess really a little bit, not having done it, but I'm sure there's a lot of unsettledness in your stomach. There's a lot of excitement. There's, for some people, it's a lifetime of preparation and thinking of this. For the Blue Origin flight, it'll be like a wake up before dawn, get dressed in your suit, have some breakfast. Right around sunrise, soon after, they'll drive you out to the launch pad, and you climb the stairs at the launch pad, about 70 feet, 7 flights, and wait for a few short minutes in a safe room while the rocket is going through its final verifications. And then 6 passengers load in the capsule. And depending on how smoothly the countdown goes, you might be in the capsule for 20, 30 minutes. On one of the flights, NS-19, the crew took about 37 minutes from entering the capsule, waiting, flying into space. The whole flight on Blue Origin is about 10 and a half minutes, landing, opening the hatch and exiting the capsule. So they were 37 minutes in the capsule from start to finish. And then, you're off for the rest of your day, and you're done really with the flight by, 9 a.m.
And for people who may have no idea about this project, maybe this is the first time they hear about this, well, they are welcome to go to the Blue Origin website, New Shepard, that's the name of the rocket which is flying this. But the capsule is will host 6 people. I assume it weighs several tons, and it has huge windows, huge tall windows, and each passenger sits next to a huge tall window, and that is the real beauty of this project, because you can see Earth in its splendor through the whole thing. And the weightlessness bit lasts 3-4 minutes. That's my understanding.
Yeah, that's correct. On both Galactic and Blue, about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes of weightlessness.
All right, now Virgin Galactic. So what is there? What is the sequence?
Very similar. Early wake up, light breakfast, I think. A lot of maybe some nervousness, some excitement, some waiting for the thrill to happen. And the crews for Galactic have gone out to the spacecraft at 6:37 a.m., maybe 7:30, and it's a very different system with Virgin Galactic. It's a spaceship that's carried beneath a carrier plane, and the carrier plane takes about 45 minutes to fly up to a release altitude, and they release the spaceship. Spaceship fires a rocket, and the rocket burns for about a minute, and at the end of the rocket burn, the spaceship coasts up into space, and then comes back down, and as it enters the atmosphere, the spaceship flies like a glider, and it glides back to the same runway from which it took off.
The whole experience for Virgin Galactic takes longer than for Blue Origin.
Yes, yeah, about an hour and a quarter or so that you're off the ground. Yeah.
So the capsule, now we call it space plane. The Virgin Galactic space plane holds 2 pilots and 4 passengers. One of these passengers is usually a Virgin Galactic representative, what they call them, experience manager. I forgot the name.
Astronaut trainer. And
Astronaut
Galactic has said that for the first maybe 5 or 6, 7 flights, that they'll fly one of their own staff, an astronaut trainer, with 3 passengers, just to help make sure that everything goes as planned. But after that, they plan to fly 4 passengers in the spaceship.
And in the not so distant future, Virgin Galactic is planning to have Delta class rocket planes, which will carry 6 passengers. That's several years in the future.
Exactly. Yes, they're building and planning. I think around 2026 to start with the Delta class, and that will be fleet probably two, three spaceships in the first year flying along with the current one, Spaceship Unity.
So differences and similarities. Similarities. Both projects will take you on a suborbital flight, so which means they go up and down. Um, Blue Origin will cross 100 kilometers line. Virgin Galactic between 80 and 90. I think the last flight was 88 kilometers
Correct. Yeah.
altitude. Blue Origin goes up and down. The whole flight is 13, 14 minutes, 4 minutes in weightlessness. Virgin Galactic, it's hour and a half, 2 hours total, same 4 minutes in weightlessness, uh, slightly lower. And less passengers, 3 passengers Virgin Galactic, 6 passengers Blue Origin.
Correct.
For
Yeah.
you will fly on both. Why did you choose to go on both? Why not pick one?
Well, I've been following space travel all my life, and I was watching very closely when Virgin Galactic announced in 2004 that they're going to take what was Spaceship One then and build a bigger version, Spaceship Two. So I decided to buy a ticket with them back in 2010, and it's been some time. There's about 800 people now with tickets for Galactic, and it still looks that I'm a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years away for my turn to fly with Galactic, and I had an opportunity to get a ticket with Blue, and I decided that that was worth doing. It's for me to see the Earth from space would be the dream of a lifetime, and I'm thrilled not just for me to be flying into space at some point, but for hundreds and eventually thousands of people to travel into space and see our planet in the blackness of space and have a realization of what our Earth is, and that we're all on this planet together and need to work together to make things better. You don't see borders so much from space, and all the people that have traveled, even in suborbital flights, have had a transformative experience and talk about their lives changing after that. And I'm hoping to. I've been working for about 10 years. I've been working actually since 1995 doing classroom activities with students uh, related to space and astronomy, and I've been leading video calls with classrooms to talk about commercial space, and I expect to do that once I finish my flight and inspire children to understand space and be excited about careers in STEM and STEAM. I think it's important for people to realize that.
Well, I assume once Elon Musk has his Starship Earth to Earth suborbital flights, you'll book that too, right? And all other ones.
Oh, it depends. Who knows how much it will cost. But yeah, I'm trying to stay in best of health and be ready if that opportunity comes along.
Well, Earth from above is beautiful, and I didn't go higher than 18,000 feet. So, any other unusual, abnormal things you've done in the past where you saw Earth from above? I know that you did the zero G flights. What else?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I have done the zero G once in the US and once in Bordeaux in France with Air Zero G. And that's recommended training, suggested, not required for preparation for commercial spaceflight. I think it's essential to do because your body, once your body realizes what that feels like, it enables you to be more open on the space flight, and you eliminate some of the unknowns. I've also done centrifuge training. There's a facility in near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the U.S. Called NASTAR, NASTAR, where they do centrifuge training. So it's a capsule that one person sits in with a video screen in front of you, and the capsule is spun around on an arm and turned in a way so that you feel the G forces exactly the way you'll feel them during the flight. And that's really helpful to have too. So on the space flight, your body knows what those feelings are. And there's I've been thinking a lot about what those minutes will be like. It's two very different states of mind and states of being, going from a rocket pushing you through the atmosphere at 4,000 kilometers per hour to instantaneous weightlessness and floating in a way out a window where you're going to want to be quiet and contemplative and looking at the view out the window. I've thought a lot about what to do during those moments. I don't plan on, doing somersaults or tossing candy. At first, I just wanted to look at the Earth, and then I read a quote from Stephen Hawking, who said that no, you're going to be out among the universe, among the stars. You should be thinking of what Earth looks like in space and thinking about what's out there in the blackness of space. So I said, oh yeah, I should be, looking out there too. Then I read a quote from Dave Scott, who walked on the moon with Apollo 15, and he was at an exhibit of photographs of the moon, and it was asked, "See, gee, Dave, some people said the moon looked kind of brown, other people said it looked orange. What do you think?" And Scott said, "You see what you expect to see. You have to open yourself up." So that's what I'm thinking now is by doing the weightless experience, by doing the centrifuge training, I'll be best able to just let the experience bring whatever it brings to me.
Is it a requirement for all potential future astronauts to go through some training before these two flights, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic? I don't know, are there any similarities or not? Or it's for people who don't want to do the zero-G or G-forces training, it's a really simple and straightforward training. What do you know about that?
Yeah, that's interestingly, both companies have similar format. About 3 days of training at the launch site prior to flight day. So it's definitely not required to have done a weightless flight or have done centrifuge training, but they're both designed for a person of generally good health and good fitness to experience without a problem. They've had people as young as 18, people as old as 90. You may have seen highlights from William Shatner on Blue Origin. He had a profound experience and didn't need to be in particularly athlete level of health.
I don't want for you to reveal any secrets, but anything you can tell about the training, maybe in more details, because I heard somewhere that you go through some sequence like how to open the hatch, how to open the door, how to buckle up, how to behave in weightlessness, basically safety-related training, so that you're comfortable and do things quickly, because the transition from weightlessness back to G-forces may happen not instantaneously, but rather fast, basically to prepare you for that. Is that correct?
As far as I know, yeah. I think a lot of the training is focused on safety procedures, communication, what to do in an emergency situation, things like that.
You mentioned G-force training. I think it's about 3 Gs on both for the acceleration bits. Is it more?
No, that's about right. 3.5. And actually with Virgin Galactic, because of the way the rocket ship goes from horizontal flight to vertical flight, you experience some G's from head to toe, what they call the Z-axis. And there are a few little techniques you could do to get through that easily. You don't want to be having all the blood drain from your head. So that's one thing we practice in the centrifuge is that, you get to see what that feels like. Wasn't even close to blacking out at all.
Speaking about dogs, dogs are true heroes of space travel. And we all know about Laika and some other Russian dogs, but there are many dogs in Soviet Union which went suborbital during the experimental stage of, I think there are several dozen. I think the total number is about 40. 42 Soviet dogs went to space or suborbital, most of them suborbital. Well, that's why dogs are true heroes of space age. Now, the question which people always ask, and let's see how much we can discuss that. Pricing. Let's talk about safe subject first, Virgin Galactic. I don't want to know how much you paid, so let's talk about how much people will pay if they book today.
So if you were to book today, and actually Virgin Galactic has stopped sales as they want to start working through the early flyers. the most recent price has been $450,000 US. And they have said that once they start flying with the Delta class, that they'll resume ticket sales and actually expect the price to be higher. So everyone feels that, like in aviation, when tickets on an airplane flight were really more of an exclusive thing and not really within reach for a lot of people. The expectation is that over time, the price for suborbital flights will come down. And I think SpaceX and Starship could change that very much. It could be very different in 5 or 10 years.
So Elon Musk mentioned it in several interviews. He said, well, it cost me 2 million, 10 million, 1 million. He used different numbers to launch a Starship, and we will do Earth to Earth. Actually, if you go to SpaceX website, Earth to Earth section, that's where they talk about those flights, suborbital flights, and not suborbital, point-to-point flights, 45 minutes, New York to Tokyo. And again, in his interviews, he was talking 500 people. I can put 500 people in the Starship to do this flight. Well, we'll see. It's a tough job to do that.
Yeah.
But I know Department of Defense in US became really interested already, because the opportunity to send 150 tons or some load and people anywhere on the planet within 30 minutes, 40 minutes time is very attractive. And maybe this will put some money into the project, and it will happen sooner than later. On the Blue Origin side, it's a tricky subject. The price is somewhat sensitive commercial information. If anyone is interested to know the price for a Blue Origin suborbital flight, they can go to the Blue Origin New Shepard website, and there is a booking button, inquiry button, and you can check the price. We are not at liberty to tell all the rumors we hear, and especially if someone paid the price, we are tied by NDA agreements with the operator. On the training requirements, prerequisites, are there any limitations you know about? Who cannot become a suborbital astronaut?
Actually, I have not heard of anyone that's been disqualified for whatever reason. I think, anybody in generally good health. I mean, both systems are engineered and designed to be, manageable for anyone. In the centrifuge training, for example, when we're up to 3.5 Gs, actually, we went up to 5 Gs because I actually experienced some higher Gs on the way down as you re-enter the atmosphere. But they come at a peak. They didn't sustain so much, and they build up over a period of time and then drop right back off. They are, I would say, so comfortable, but definitely manageable, that G load. I think you have to be in rather poor health in order to be disqualified or not.
And the youngest person was 18, and the oldest person was 90 something.
90, yeah.
Blue
Origin.
Origin.
And let's see, John Goodwin, who just flew on Galactic, and Wally Funk were both right around age 80. Mm-hmm. Wally Funk flew on the first Blue Origin flight with Jeff Bezos.
And one more topic which people want to know more is safety measures, redundancies. Well, both systems are basically space systems, and as any space system is designed, it's always designed with multiple redundancies. And I don't know if you, through your preparation, through your training, any safety features you can talk about?
Yeah, we're aware of some. I know the Galactic has a lot of, like you say, redundancies or multiple systems that are in critical functions. Blue Origin has, and we saw this when Blue Origin had their last payload flight in September 2022. They had a failure in the rocket, and their backup system, which is a solid rocket motor that's in the capsule, pulled the capsule away from the booster and came back down under parachutes. If there had been people on that flight, they would have been fine. So that was not the first time they've used that solid rocket motor, and they've tested it on the ground, in flight, at peak altitude, and it's worked well each time. So that was actually reassuring to see. Very unfortunate that they had a failure in the rocket booster, um, but very good to see that the backup system performed as it was designed. So yes, and yes, there is a risk. You're riding a rocket. It's it's speeding you at a very high speed through the atmosphere. But in this case, I think all of us that are signed up and are ready to fly feel like the reward is very much worth the risk.
Well, what about you on the day of the flight? Will you be freaking out a bit or?
I tend to be pretty calm in situations. I don't mind. I'm happy at heights. I'm happy looking over cliff edges or anything. Totally comfortable with that. Um, we'll see, but I would look. I would. I've actually talked to a medical researcher to see if we could wear a medical harness. If there's some science experiments we could do with this, or at least have our bodies wired so that vitals can be monitored during the flight and help create you, you know a, a database of performance. And I'd like to do that. So, and I've talked to Blue Origin about that, and they have had, I think they have had people that have worn some kind of system that's monitoring uh, blood pressure, heart rate, things like that.
The last question. You mentioned the projects which you're doing with with students. I assume high school students, university students.
Uh, any age really, from first second year up through university,
Mhm.
and to adults as well.
Why are you doing this? It's I would do the same. I'm doing the same. I'm promoting this idea because I'm passionate about it. I just wanted to hear your opinion. Do you believe that this is a wise decision for students, for young adults to follow the STEM career in space engineering? Maybe they should all go to do IT, AI, legal, I don't know, accountants. What's so cool
Hmm.
about engineering or art or math or science? Why it will help them? What's ahead?
Well, part of the purpose for talking to students and making them aware of commercial spaceflight is all those jobs that you mentioned are available connected to spaceflight. Um, Students, well, there's a few reasons. There's reasons that I think people in general should be aware of Earth as a planet. They don't realize that Earth's spinning 1,000 miles an hour at the equator and traveling 67,000 miles an hour in its orbit around the sun. And you don't really have to have a sense of that for your day-to-day needs. You need food, water, sleep. But in the long run, for humans as a species to survive, you have to have awareness of Earth. You don't realize that the thickness of the atmosphere is about the equivalent of a paperclip on a 12-inch globe, or like a skin on an apple. The atmosphere around the Earth is extremely thin, and you don't realize that from the ground. You look up at the sky, and the clouds look like they go on forever. But when you're in space and you see that thin atmosphere and realize that it's keeping everything alive within it, you come back with a different approach to life and to thinking. And I think more and more people realize how our Earth exists in space is long term better for the Earth, and that's really why. What drives my passion to talk to students about space. And students are, generally curiosity. There's, if you talk to most students and say, oh, hey, you get to talk to an astronaut today, that's an exciting thing. And love to fuel that curiosity. And, kind of what we touched on, one of the important messages we have for students is that if you're excited about space and want to work for a space company, you can't, yes, they need pilots and engineers, but they also have people that work in their offices in general office jobs, people doing law. There's commercial space law is an active area. There's people that have maybe just like a 2-year trade degree that love working with their hands, building things that are going to be building spaceships out of carbon fiber. Like companies are building carbon fiber bikes and other things. There are people that are connected to IT, managing the data. They're photographers, graphic artists. Um, there are people in the hospitality industry that are, creating food and breakfasts at Spaceport. There's a full-time barista at Spaceport. Joe, he's fabulous, and his job is to make coffee and other drinks for people that are building and operating spaceships and for people going to space. So you could, students, you could be involved in many different areas with both companies. And if you're interested in space and want to be connected to space, you can do it. And the best advice, really, if you want to do it, is follow your passion. Find something you're really good at. Be ready to work hard at being really good at it. And you never know where you can go. I don't think any of us signed up for Blue or for Galactic would have guessed 15 years ago that we'd be doing what we're doing now. So that's some thoughts for students.
All parents who are listening, please go grab your kids and force them to listen to this whole bit again, because it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Ron, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best in your future flights. How many you are going to do? 2, 3, 5, 25. And I hope that then you'll be wearing your jumpsuit, spacesuit, and touring all those universities and schools, and your power will be enormous in luring people into the STEAM and STEM education and showing them the bright future. This is great stuff. I really like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a very exciting time. I really appreciate you reaching out, and really appreciate being part of your podcast series. Best of luck. Thank you.
But once you become famous, please come back to our season 3 with the summary of what you saw.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's agree now, because you have to commit that you'll come back to this podcast.
Absolutely. I expect to be very busy once I come back.
Thank you, Ron. Great talking to you. Thank you for listening and watching. This was episode 5, Suborbital Commercial Space Flights. You can find these episodes on YouTube and on all audio podcast platforms. Thank you and goodbye.